So we all know we should get more sleep, right? But what if you just didn't? I'm not talking about one all-nighter. I mean, what would happen if you stopped sleeping completely?
You might think that's just a crazy hypothetical question, but get this. Someone actually tried to find out.
Yep. Back in 1963, a 17-year-old high school student of all people named Randy Gardner decided to see what would happen. And what he discovered, well, it's a terrifying look at just how fast our minds and our bodies can completely unravel without sleep.
He stayed awake for 11 straight days. That's 264 hours with no stimulants. And the decline was honestly shocking. After only 2 days, his eyes literally couldn't focus anymore. He couldn't even identify objects just by touching them. By day 3, he was super moody, clumsy, and by the time he finally stopped, he was struggling to concentrate. He was paranoid, and he was even hallucinating. His grip on reality was just gone.
Okay, so Randy's story is not just some wild one-off thing. It's actually a pretty predictable roadmap of what happens to any of us when we're deprived of sleep. The effects escalate really quickly. So let's break down that timeline, step by step.
Let's start with 24 hours. A single all-nighter. I mean, who hasn't done that, right? For school, for work, maybe for fun. You might think, no big deal. I'll catch up later. But the thing is, the damage starts happening way sooner than you think.
After just that one day, you'll see your reaction time tank. You might start slurring your words a bit, your decision-making gets impaired, and forget about trying to remember things or pay attention. You get irritable, you might even get tremors. It's like your brain's most basic functions are already starting to short-circuit.
And if that doesn't sound serious enough, get this. Staying awake for just 24 hours reduces your hand-eye coordination to a level that's on par with having a blood alcohol content of 0.1%. Let that sink in. That's legally intoxicated. You wouldn't get behind the wheel of a car like that, would you? Okay, now let's push it to 36 hours. At this point, it's not just your brain that's in trouble. The problem starts spreading to your entire body.
Your actual body chemistry starts to go haywire. You get more inflammatory markers in your blood, which is a big sign of stress. Your hormones get all out of whack, and your metabolism actually slows down. It's a full-on systemic breakdown, all happening from the inside.
All right, what about 72 hours? 3 full days without sleep. This is where your mind really starts to break.
We're talking about severe anxiety, a deep sense of depression, intense paranoia, and yes, full-blown hallucinations, just like Randy Gardner had. And those higher-level brain skills, the ability to plan, to focus, to make a simple decision, those executive functions completely fall apart.
So, okay, that's the rapid collapse. But what's the ultimate price here? Does this just mess with your mind, or is your whole body under attack?
Oh yeah, it is a full-body assault. Sleep loss basically wages war on nearly every single organ system you have. Your brain, your heart, your pancreas, even your muscles and joints. Nothing is safe. It impairs your cognitive function, sure, but it also skyrockets your risk for heart disease, type 2 diabetes, you name it.
And the long-term data on this is, well, it's jaw-dropping. A huge study linked poor sleep to a staggering number of diseases. For 92 of those, just not sleeping well gives you more than a 20% increased risk. And for 42 of them, it at least doubled the risk. We're talking about things like dementia, Parkinson's, and even stuff you wouldn't expect, like gangrene and liver cirrhosis. It's a massive web of disease all tied back to sleep.
And if you need absolute proof that humans literally cannot survive without sleep, look no further than a terrifyingly rare genetic disease called fatal familial insomnia. It does exactly what it sounds like. It places the body in this nightmare state of wakefulness, making sleep impossible. And the outcome is always the same. It gets worse and worse, leading to dementia and eventually death.
This all leads us to the central mystery, doesn't it? Why? What is actually happening, or maybe not happening, in our brain that makes sleep so absolutely essential for survival? Well, the first part of the answer has to do with a chemical called adenosine. Think of it like this. As your brain cells are working and using energy all day, they produce this chemical as a byproduct, like exhaust from a car. And all day long, this adenosine builds up and up and up, creating what we call sleep pressure.
that growing, heavy-lidded feeling that you just have to get some sleep.
But here's the thing. It's not just adenosine. There are all sorts of other toxic waste products that build up in your brain while you're awake. And if that junk doesn't get cleaned out, it just accumulates, overloading your brain's circuits. That's what causes all those symptoms of sleep deprivation.
So how does the brain get rid of all this toxic gunk? This is where it gets really cool. It's all thanks to the brain's nightly cleanup crew called the glymphatic system. Here's how it works. While you're in deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink down a bit. This opens up more space between them. And then this cleansing liquid, cerebrospinal fluid, floods into those new gaps and literally flushes away all the toxic waste that built up during the day. It's like a power wash for your brain every single night.
And here's the kicker. This whole cleanup process is way more active while you're asleep. We're not just talking a little more active. It's a huge difference. So without sleep, that toxic waste just builds and builds and builds. This isn't just resting. It's a vital maintenance cycle.
Now look, most of us aren't going to try to stay awake for 11 days. The real danger for most of us isn't total sleep deprivation, it's chronic sleep restriction. Routinely getting less than 7 hours a night. That creates a cumulative sleep debt. And while the effects might seem more subtle at first, over time, they can be just as dangerous.
And make no mistake, this is a massive public health problem. In the US alone, about a third of adults are sleep deprived on a regular basis. And for teenagers, it's even worse. A whopping 66% are sleep deprived. We are, as a society, walking around with a huge collective sleep debt.
And what's the interest payment on that debt? How about this? Chronically sleeping less than 6 hours a night increases your risk of having a stroke by 4.5 times. 4.5 times. So when you put it all together, the conclusion is pretty clear, isn't it? Sleep is not a luxury. It's not wasted time. It is a fundamental, non-negotiable biological process that you need to survive. So the real question you have to ask yourself is, are you treating it that way?